All right. Okay, we are all set. We are recording now. Hey, just a reminder that all of our recordings, obviously, you can catch all our recordings here on Facebook. Just scroll down the news feed and you'll see them. But I also have them in the members area. So you will be able to go through and binge listen or binge watch, whatever you want to do, and just go through and piece everything back together if you've missed something or whatever. Hey, the title of this, what I'm sharing with you is an investigation. Let me show you something. Yesterday, a gentleman on LinkedIn out of Kansas City, he is also he's a historian, aquatics trainer, and he works for Ellison Associates, but he sent me this. This is an investigation here, okay, from the state of New York. It's a school district investigation, actually. So from the city of New York, a special commissioner of investigations for the New York City School District. And this right here, this was sent to me yesterday afternoon. I forwarded this on to a few people yesterday. A gentleman that is David Bush, who is with Guardian Life. He is at a tech show in Las Vegas, and we forwarded this on to him because, believe it or not, I believe he has a solution to the problem. And just like I made here in the comment section here below, this really has pissed me off. And if you feel vulnerable and you feel like you don't want to be upset, then I would probably suggest you not read or just go ahead and turn me off, not listen to this, okay? Because this should really make your blood boil. That something like this could happen, number one. Each one of us who've lost a child to a drowning, we understand, that we would do anything to have our children back, but at the same time, it's 100% preventable. And this right here goes to show, and I mean, worst case scenario, people, worst case scenario, it goes to show you the incompetence in some of these water parks and some of these facilities amongst these aquatics professionals. This stuff still goes on today. And if we as an organization, we as a collective group of people, if we don't rise up and we don't claim this problem and begin to provide and claim that we hold the solution to the problem, then these things are still going to happen. Okay? When people say it's education, you're absolutely right, 100%. It is about education. When they say it's about swim lessons, you're absolutely right. It's about swim lessons, all ages. It's about everything. So everything and everybody needs to come together and get motivated and pissed off enough that you're going to turn around and do something about this. All right? I will put a link. If you want this, it's a 35-page, roughly, document from the state of New York. And it's like I said, it's just an investigation of an accident that happened while kids in an 8th grade. This boy was 14 years old, an 8th grade class out of Bronx, New York, went to Allentown, Pennsylvania, to a water park, and the boy drowned. And let me read you some of this stuff. I'm just going to go through the first few pages here, okay? And then I'll put up the link here. Okay, this is an investigation into a drowning, and I'm not going to pronounce, the boy's name's Daniel, during an 8th grade trip to Dorney Park, and Wild Water Kingdom in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And they've got some acknowledgments, but let me read you the introduction. This accident happened. This accident happened to one day to the day. My daughter drowned on June 15th, 1993. This boy drowned, and I believe the gentleman who sent me this because of this right here, the correlation to the date. This boy drowned 1 year to the day of my daughter's drowning. He drowned on June 15th of 1994. All right? I was in the process in 1994. We were involved in legal stuff, all kinds of stuff involving my daughter's accident. But the point of this is we were working on water safety and some prevention and some educational stuff back in 1993, leading up to 94. And this is Allentown, Pennsylvania. This is only like 6 hours, 7 hours away from my home, and so and my daughter drowned in a public pool. This boy is in a public water park, okay? But let me read you, this is what it says. On June 15th of 1994, Daniel, a slight 14-year-old eighth grader, joined 137 classmates, 5 teachers, and assistant principal on a school graduation trip to Dorney Park in Wildwater Kingdom in Allentown, Pennsylvania. At the end of the day, and known to the assistant principal and supervisors of the trip, the school bus that had brought the eighth graders left the Pennsylvania park for home without Daniel. It was during the school trip to Dorney Park in the wave pool that Daniel died by drowning. The investigation examines the circumstances leading up to Daniel's drowning and the events following the assistant principal's discovery that Daniel was missing, including her decision to return home without him. Okay? Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom, hereinafter known as Dorney Park, is an amusement park containing traditional amusements and attractions such as roller coasters, Ferris wheels, and as well as water rides. The wave pool in which Daniel drowned is one of the most popular attractions at the park. The pool contains machinery at its deep end which churns the water to create a powerful wave at a rate faster than generally occurring in the ocean. And the background right here, you see a wave pool. Okay, you see this wave pool behind me. This is, I don't know where this one was at, but this one here is a similar situation. Okay, where you can see waves that are probably 2 to 3 seconds apart. Okay, so in this case, Daniel, a poor swimmer, okay, hence a poor swimmer. We don't know what his swimming ability was. We don't know if he ever really had swimming lessons, but he was a poor swimmer. He ventured into the 10-foot area of the deepest section of the wave pool at approximately 3:30 p.m. on June 15th, 1993. At 3:30 p.m., a year before that, I just got home. I was just getting home or on my way home from the hospital after my daughter was pronounced dead from a drowning, almost a year to the day. And to join his friends, Felix, as the wave machinery operated, the waves measuring higher than the swimmer's head arrived every 2 to 3 seconds. The waves crashed into Daniel, dragging him under the water. Okay? If we've been to the ocean and we've been to wave pools, we can probably relate to some of this. And so, Felix grabbed Daniel and pulled him to the water's surface, where Daniel gulped for air, flailed his arms, and went under the water again, this time not to surface alive. Felix and his 2 other friends, Daniel and Albert and Angela, called the lifeguards to help, and they told him that their friend went under the water. 3 lifeguards looked in the direction where Felix and Engelbert pointed, and not immediately seeing anyone in distress, chose not to enter the pool to search for Daniel. Felix next looked for his teacher, but none of the 6 adults on the trip were at the wave pool area. I mean, can this thing get any freaking worse? Well, let me read on here. One lifeguard, apparently confusing Daniel with another child pulled out of the pool at about the same time, told Angela that her friend had been rescued. All 3 children eventually left the wave pool area, hoping the lifeguard were correct and Daniel had somehow gotten out safely. Between 5 and 5:30 p.m., okay, remember, this was reported to the lifeguards at 3:30. Between 5 and 5:30 p.m., Daniel's classmates boarded the 3 buses for their return trip home. The 5 teachers and the assistant principal monitoring the trip realized for the first time Daniel was missing. Albert then told the teacher and the assistant principal how Daniel had gone under the water in the deep section of the wave pool. Park security guards went to the wave pool but did not find Daniel. Security guards later explained to the local police that he had only viewed the surface of the pool. Okay, this is a trained lifeguard, only viewed the surface of the pool. Okay, and I think most of us know that's not what you do, but anyways, um, and never looking down into the water. Winsome Naylor, who is the assistant principal here, in charge of the trip, instructed the two of the other three buses to return home after determining that Daniel was not on neither of those two buses. The search for Daniel continued. About 1 hour later, Daniel was still missing. Miss Naylor had returned. A remaining teacher boarded the last bus and headed home. He headed home without even a simple exchange of a telephone number between her and park security. Miss Naylor, the teacher, returned from Pennsylvania to the Bronx, leaving Daniel behind. Daniel's grandmother and brother greeted the bus and learned that Daniel was missing. Back at Dornay Park several hours later at approximately 1 a.m., this is 10 hours later, at 1 a.m., a park worker inadvertently discovered Daniel's body at the bottom of the deepest end of the pool. The coroner concluded that Daniel drowned at the time, consistent with the friend's call for help with the lifeguards. The same time, Felix also looked for help without success from the teachers. The investigation examines how Daniel came to die in the park on June 15th and why the assistant principal, along with other teachers, left the park for home and leaving Daniel unaccounted for. We examined not only the immediate circumstances of this drowning, but also the wisdom of selecting a water amusement park for an 8th grade class trip. The planning of this trip and supervised provided by the teachers and the assistant principal and the Board of Education ruled the governing school trips. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing. It's 35 pages long, and I will put a link here in the show notes here. They were Allison. They were 14 years old. They were 8th grade. They were 8th grade kids. Yeah, if you don't hate wave pools by now, you should. This is this is a case study that I think this will hit. If they're not moved by my story or somebody else's story, this right here, every single parent's nightmare right here, when your kids go to any type of field trip, on a school trip, I don't care if it's a wave pool or what, these are the people that are supervising our kids. Anyways, I need to have a drink of coffee so I can cool down. This thing gets worse, okay? This thing gets worse. Later in this document, it goes over that when the school buses left, the park people stopped their search for Daniel because they assumed that the teachers made an incorrect assumption and made an error in their head counts. So the park assumed that the child was on the bus. So they concluded that the child was not left behind, and so they stopped searching for him. They then entered the wave pool and started doing lifeguard training. The lifeguard training were doing swimming laps right over the top of Daniel. At no point in time did the lifeguards ever see his body down in the deep end. They didn't look. And in their defense, they said, hey, if you're not actively searching for a body on the bottom of the pool, then the likelihood you will not see that. I don't buy this bullcrap. But anyways, nonetheless, that's what they said. So there was lifeguards, there was people, there were people searching. And then at 1 a.m., it's dark. When these lifeguards were swimming in the pool, they were actually, out there during the daytime. So, by the looks of the wave pool that's in the picture behind me, and when you go on Google, start searching wave pools, you will notice these wave pools the water is not very clear. Look at that water. You can't really see into. So if it's a 10-foot deep section, the likelihood you probably can't see the bottom, okay, because the water is so murky and cloudy probably. But anyways, Daniel's body was found and not only that, but once the body was seen, he then called the police department. They then turned around and tried to find rescue divers. They didn't even go in and retrieve the body at that point in time. They turned around and called for rescue divers. They couldn't find any. I don't know how much time went by, but I think it did indicate in there that maybe a couple hours or an hour or so went by. And then finally, park employees jumped in the water and retrieved the body. The body was found at the most deepest point up against the wave making machinery, which is down in a very dark part of the pool, which they indicated that probably caused the reason why he was not seen. And he was curled up, I mean, kind of in a ball or fetal position, and he was rigid and hard, and so he had been in the water for an extremely long time. People, I just, this is very, okay, it was 1994, it was 25 years ago that this happened. But if we sit back and say things are better today, then we are lying to ourselves. We are fooling ourselves. And each and every one of us possess a solution to the problem. And I think it's time that we start claiming that. We start to make people listen. People don't want to listen. School teachers, the people don't listen. I get in my news reports all the time, my news feed, and things there's kids today, last summer, everything. There will be kids this coming summer, this spring, that will drown on a school field trip, preschool field trip. Teachers, people don't understand the problem. They don't understand the problem. And so from that standpoint, we need to take control of the situation, number one, and we need to be in everybody's face. The solution is really, really simple. The solution is just massive, massive action. And, if a 1 million man march can march on the Capitol in Washington, D.C. and create change, what can 1 million water safety advocates do if we go to social media, if we go to some places and we turn around and we just blanket? We don't need to talk to each other. Each one of us knows the problem. But we as a collective group have to band together under one message, and you should see things like this that should upset you to the point that will motivate you to do something about it. There are too many people in water safety, drowning prevention, sitting on their duffs right now, me included, that are not doing enough to keep accidents like this happening, because we have to educate the people that are in charge of our children. We have to educate people. If they're going to water, they need to understand the risks and dangers about being around the water. End of story. And the aquatics professionals, are right up there with them. They don't understand. People that run pools, they understand drowning is important, but when you get lifeguards that will not take heed and assume that somebody got out of the water. I've heard this story more than once, more than twice, dozens and dozens of times. My daughter was 8 feet in front of a lifeguard and estimated to be in the water for 10 to 12 minutes before she was found by 2 other boys, not even the lifeguard. This happens to this day. Okay, in a structured situation like a pool, a wave pool, there's no excuse for this. I'm just kind of reading the comments. Exactly, Cheryl. Yeah, a lot of people just don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. When they tell me they want to solve the problem, in some cases, I don't think they really want to solve the problem because it's job security. But and the risk of losing money, things like that. Money is a big part of it. I mean, they're fearful. People are fearful of lawsuits. Organizations and things like that don't want to, do anything about it. I mean, they're very singular in their approach as far as what they're doing, and that's great. I mean, they need to do that. They hold a solution to the problem. It's time to claim it. I'm making an extremely bold statement. The solution to the problem's been out there. Other organizations, other movements have determined what the solution is, and they do this every day. I know what the solution is, okay? But I'm only one person. And I can't achieve the solution by myself. But I'm making that claim. I mean, nobody else wants to make the claim that they hold the solution, but I know each and every person. I sent a message on LinkedIn today, a gentleman that is in Las Vegas that I know used to own 22 water parks, who now is partnering with me and working on helping to prevent drownings and things like this, because he used to own a wave park. This hit really home. He sent me an answer and a response in an email, all capital letters. I think when people send you capital letters, that means they're yelling, right?
I think, and this really hit home with him because he had an 11-year-old boy drown in one of his pools at one of his wave pools that he owned, and he owned 22 of them. He now works in drowning prevention. But, there are people out there that are really working, and he provides a solution to the problem. And so, not just for backyard pools, but everything else. But everything from swim instructors to independent swim instructors, we need to get this word. We need to motivate people. And this is not just water safety advocates, but we need to motivate parents and people alike, just as important as cancer, heart, vaping, things like that. We can mobilize enough people. If a pediatrician does not want to hand out a water safety information, then we should be able to drive enough traffic and enough business to the pediatrician that does want to hand out that stuff, that wants to support water safety initiatives and water safety programs. We need to wield that kind of power. As an organization, as a group, as a selective group of people, we need to take it right to the business, to the forefront. In other words, it's a revenue situation. We can, we may not be able to mass together and do a million-man march or a million water safety advocate march on Capitol Hill. Maybe that's a good idea. But, if we can't mobilize that and show up in such sheer numbers that we get people's attention, then, 10 years from now, we'll be talking about another story that happened at this point in time. And we'll be asking why. How could something like this still happen? Real simple, because we know what the solution is, but nobody's doing it. So I'm going to get off my soapbox here. I know it looks like a lot of you are commenting here, so I think I touched on a chord here with a few of you. I hope I will. Let me go ahead and put. Let me find the link here. Let me go ahead and put the link to this. If you want to download this. Go ahead and download, print it off, add it to your, add it to whatever it is that you're talking about. Add it, add this to your story. Add it to it's great to have and put a voice to other people like Daniel. Let's give Daniel a voice. This is the first I ever heard of it. I know other people may have heard of this possible accident. But this gentleman that shared this was out of Kansas City, sent this to me unbeknownst. I've never talked to this guy before. That's the power of connection. That's the power of meeting people and just putting your message out there and how you want to affect. I believe that we possess the solution, and we can change a lot of people's lives, and we can change the direction of water safety and drowning prevention. And by the end of this decade, we can definitely reduce the numbers of drowning by 50% or more. I believe that. I believe that without a shadow of my doubt. We just got to go to work. It's simple as that. Put the combination together and let's go to work. I mean, it unlocks the door. It unlocks the possibilities of everything that we're doing. So, yeah, Allison, money over life. Exactly. Hey guys. Yeah, no, you don't have to apologize for venting. I think, it's great that we can vent in a setting like this, but we also need to vent to other people and let other people see our raw emotion and let them see how something like this upsets them. Maybe we can upset some other people to turn around and where it's not so personal for them, but maybe they'll make it a personal mission of theirs to say, hey, I want to advocate for this. I want to advocate for the education. I want to advocate to put this in the school systems. I want to advocate that everybody learn to swim. I want to advocate that, pediatricians hand out information. I want to advocate that, at every level, it's showing up on people's news feeds. I want to advocate the news media and everything else, that every day it's just as prevalent in the media and the news as it is vaccinations, as it is, everything else that goes on in this world that we see that's important. Okay. This is just as important, no less important than any one of those other topics, but it doesn't get the same respect. This right here is a failure on such an immense scale that how can you ignore it? So with that being said, guys, I'm going to cut this off. I think our bosses are going to tell us some fires because we've been on our coffee break too long, huh? Well, hey, if you got any questions, comments, keep them coming. Hit me up on an email if you want to talk more about this. But I am putting together a webinar series that hopefully in the next couple of weeks I will be able to put this together, because I'm going to start putting, I've been working on this for quite some time. And So I'm going to start putting this out there and showing what this is, what we can accomplish here, but at the same time putting the solution out there. So guys, you guys are awesome. It's 9:30, roughly 9:26. It's time for us to go to work. It's Tuesday, January 7th. 6 days are gone in this New Year's. If we each focus on talking to one new person a day, somebody outside of our circle of influence, but bring them into our circle of influence and talk to them, one person each day. I mean, if one of us does that every day, talks to a new person, and we can find 50,000 people, in other words, let's find our million advocates to do this, and we can have the same effect as a Million Man March on Capitol Hill. And that's what I'm after, okay? So I reached 1 million people last year. My goal is to reach 3 million this year. And so what's your goal? How many people are you going to reach with your message? So let's go to work. Let's go to work. Let's go to work. Let's do it. I'm going to have some more coffee. I need to come down. My blood pressure probably is a little high. But anyways, hey guys, have a great day. And I need to figure out how to turn this tongue thing off again. So you guys are awesome. Keep up the good work. Appreciate each and every one of you. All right. See ya. All right, guys. We are going to pause this recording. We will see you guys at another time.